Shalom, I'm Yoshua Yaakov. I'm making this video from Jerusalem. I'm a didactic scientist, the author of the trilogy Humanomics and its two paradigms, the first being its central organizing principle, which is the new cognitive behavioral science first principle, receive it to give, and the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor. This is video or part two. This is the second installment of where I was, and we'll pick up where we left off after one, which is this is the Yeshua's message, which is the equivalent of the keynote address to the RNC, Republican National Convention, which is to talk serious to the American public and tell them in world-class terms what is going on, where we are, and what the enormity of the challenges are that we face as individuals, families, communities, and as a nation in relation to all mankind. Thank you. Okay, here we are, picking up where we left off. White space, paragraph. Herein the superego is the authentic evil incarnation revealed in its naked will to power, quote unquote, that's Nietzsche. While the id, quote unquote, is the fake evil inclination, and the ego, quote unquote, is the fake good inclination. And this was and still is Freud's id, ego, and superego access, whose central organizing principle operated parenthetically only partially known to him and Nietzsche, before him, close friends, on the psycholinguistic, cognitive, behavioral, and psychosocial levels. That was the model of man's exile of his mind, which was giving to receive. And this is the local reality that blocked the non-local reality that has and is now collapsed white space. And this local reality globally was man's mind of exile again that has collapsed. What follows is Humanomics, which is the new East-West convergence model. This is sense, it is the new anthropocentric science of the century ahead and beyond. Humanomics is also the humanities and mankind's new center of gravity, and its receive it to give is Humanomics' new central organizing principle. And this also happens to be the central organizing principle of the Jewish people of Klal Yisrael, white space. And obviously this is why it's so very important. This is our and our children's future. And thus, it is what ensures the continuity of the generations, not only ours, but all mankind's. In redemption's new era of postmodernity, that's the secular equivalent of the religious. The religious see this as the redemption, the secular is the ascent to the era of postmodernity. As such, it's the core curriculum now needed for all our schools and universities, public and private, religious or secular, for delivering UNOC's new sustainable human development programs, white space. This identity realization and acculturation process is now our and all mankind's greatest challenge. We heard nothing about this in the platform committee, in either the DNC or the RNC. And this immediately requires ending man's denial of the end of exile. We didn't hear anything about that because we don't know about it. And so this now compels deconstruction of man's particular imposed ground zero, every one of us, and subsequently his/her deprogramming of mind of exile as is necessary to restore his authentic, meaning man's generically, in you, and to heal comprehensively. This will not be easy, and it requires a lifetime of learning and sustainable human development, so that we pass this on to our children and our children's children. This is the continuity of the generations that I spoke of. Humanomics in general and its central organizing, in particular, receive it to give, which is the new cognitive behavioral science first principle. And in religious terms, for the Jewish people, it's the Holocaust of redemption, which means the Jewish law, the religious law. Okay. You don't need that perspective on it. You need the science perspective on it. Okay. White space. And this is Humanomics' 4 multi-level sustainable human development programs for the individual, the family, the community, the national level, for building its requisite technological infrastructure, so that we can now begin with our ending of the denial of the end of man's exile, because that's where we are, so that we can awaken and sustain our ascent in together developing what herein and counterpart delivers Humanomics sustainable human development programs, 4 programs, that now enables the individual and his/her family to acquire the capacities to ascend and inhabit its solutions. Now focused on the convergence of man's free will choice to in turn realize a natural convergence of its core anthropologic humanist and traditional spiritualist identity access constructs. These are the artificial divisions of exile that have to be converged in the ascent to the quantum reality of redemption. That in convergence leads all of us to eventually inhabit our authentic identity. Thank God. As is needed to direct our continuing combined education in Humanomics, natural new cognitive identity in this convergence. This is the applied science. The basic science and the applied science. Okay. As is today the way forward, that is the vision and mission critical new suspension bridge. We need redemption brings us a suspension bridge technology with which we must together build after the global collapse of the local reality, which was a pillar bridge. That was exile's giving to receive, that has left man and mankind to cope with its resulting chaos to complexity, to convergence, to comprehensive access that was/is devoid of Humanomics. Now much needed new identity resolution technology solutions whose content now delivers its paradox, dilemma to dichotomy access. And now we will move on and we will talk next about its relationship to the G9 and to the nations. Thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov, a didactic scientist and author of Humanomics Trilogy and its two paradigms.